We are back. We have stories to read, fights to fight. I didn't plan ahead. Hi, everybody. It got hot, blah, blah. You know the deal. I was double checking where we left off. Found it. And it looks like we're heading straight into a story, so I hope you guys missed my voice. Because from the looks of things, we'll actually be listening to it quite a bit today. So hopefully that at least doesn't make you want to leave immediately. Mountains. Doesn't say if we want to go to the north or south. We'll start at the north. It's the Valley Road. Yeah, that's where it wants us. At least I think that's where it wants us. I would assume that now that we're on the 4th disc, the enemies have kind of been upgraded, even in these areas we're going back to. So hopefully if we get into a fight here, there will still be value in fighting it. Here's our first one. A chorus of cicadas. This forest is home to a priceless treasure. A marvelous and exceedingly rare creature lives here. You could search the entire continent and never find another such habitat. Of course, the value of our treasure is not apparent at first glance. The village elder holds up a cup of liquor made from fermented berries as he speaks. Isn't most liquor made from gin? I'm calling it. It's gin. His ancestors have kept watch over this tiny village for generations. It is summer, and the massed cries of a million cicadas poured down upon the small fort that guards the entrance to the village. The chorus of insects sounds like a steady rain. I wonder if you gentlemen understand what I mean. The elder scans the dozen or so powerfully built men gathered at the fort. All of them wear a look of puzzlement. All but one, that is. You said your name is Kime? Asks one of the villagers. You seem to know what he's talking about. Kime nods and points upward. It's the cicadas, he says. A stir goes through the villagers. With a delighted smile, the elder says, So you know, do you? Far from delighted, the men in armor share suspicious glances. All are mercenaries. They have been hired by the villagers to protect the forest's treasure. Hey, wait just a second there, grumbles the voice of one soldier, perhaps emboldened by the liquor. Are you telling me this treasure we're supposed to protect is just cicadas? What's so special about them? They're everywhere. That is true, says the elder, which is why I said the value of our treasure is not obvious at first glance. They sound just like any cicadas I've ever heard. Another of the mercenaries says with a look of amazement on his face. Yeah, how is this chorus of cicadas different from any other? They sound just like the ones in my hometown. The other soldier laughs in agreement. Absolutely, says one. No difference, says another. The elder and the villagers, however, are not amused. They turn to Kime and the elder asks him, Will you help us to protect our treasure? That's what I'm here to do, he replies. Tell me again, Kime. Do you really know the meaning of the treasure of this forest? I do. Then let me ask you this. Do you know when this summer's battle will bear fruit? Kime takes a sip of his liquor, releases a long, slow breath, and says, "In 75 years. We're fighting for the summer 75 years from now. Is that what you mean?" Another stir goes through the group of villagers. The elder, with a great look of satisfaction, nods deeply and refills Kime's cup. To the stunned mercenaries, the elder says, "We have protected our cicada chorus generation after generation. The ones who made it possible for us to hear this summer's chorus. Listen, it sounds like pouring rain. Are the villagers who were grown-up men in 75 years ago when I was just a boy. The chorus that shook the forest last summer was protected 76 years ago, and the next summer the cicadas protected 74 years ago will start singing together. This is how we have protected the forest cicadas over the years. Do you gentlemen now see how much it means to us? It is a matter of simple arithmetic. After the eggs are buried in the ground, the cicadas that live in the forest spend 75 long years in the larval stage. At last, in the summer of their 75th year, they become mature insects, come out of the ground, and sing like mad in the treetops. For a short week or two they remain alive. Just before they die, they come down from the trees, mate, and bury their eggs in the ground. The new crop of eggs then spends another 75 long years in the earth. The fact that we can hear the cicada chorus this summer means only one thing: that the forest was at peace 75 years ago. Similarly, if the forest remains at peace this summer, the villagers will be able to hear the chorus 75 years from now. We have used what little money we have to pay you gentlemen to assemble here for this, to make the forest resound with the cicada chorus in 75 years. All the mercenaries but Kime openly show their disappointment. "Wait just a second now, Grandpa," says one shoulder standing ramrod straight. "You mean to say we're supposed to risk our lives to protect a bunch of bugs?" "Exactly. And even supposing we succeed in what we risk our lives for now, the results won't show up for 75 years? That is precisely what I mean." "Come on, old man. You must be kidding. If it were money or valuables, that would be one thing. But we might lose our lives here. And for what? Bugs? Well, you are mercenaries after all." He's not wrong. "Okay now, Grandpa, I'm going to ask you one last time. I know this village is poor, and I know you people have had to skimp and save to put this money together. There's no question about that. But when you say this is for bugs, for 75 years from now, you're not living in the same world I'm living in. For something like that, you're willing to spend every last bit of money you've got, and in the bargain, get us to gamble our lives? Are you insane? We want the children 75 years from now to hear the cicada chorus for themselves. What's so strange about that? Now we are having trouble understanding you. Don't toy with me, old man. I can't take a job like that." The man shouts and storms out of the fort. Some of the other mercenaries call out to him, "Hey, wait for me. I'm coming with you. Risk our life for bugs? What a rotten deal that is." And they hurry after him. One man after another disappears with a parting remark. "I'm keeping my advance, though." Several of them add. The only fighter left in the fort is Kime. The downpour of cicada cries continues unabated. The whole forest sounds like one giant creature. One young man is working the lookout post at the fort in a place of the departed mercenaries. He asks Kime, "Are you all right with this?" "I'm fine. I knew what I was getting myself into. I heard after they left, those men are a bad bunch." "It's true. They're really in it for what they can get after the job is done. They're fine until they finish protecting the village from the enemy, then they start asking for bonuses. They grab valuables and harass villagers. We saved the village for you, right? Wouldn't hurt you to give us a little extra, they say. The reason this year's mercenaries quit is because they realized there was no hope of any bonuses out of this village. Why do you stay, Kime? The young man asked him. There must have been a lot of jobs that would have paid you more. I just thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to risk my life for something 75 years in the future for a change. That's all. Young man nods his head thoughtfully. Then he tells Kime one of the old stories of the village. Long, long ago, way before I was born, when the elder was still a boy, there was a summer when the cicadas didn't sing at all. Of course, this meant that 70 years before that, there was a battle that ravaged the forest. The elder says that the summer forest without the cicada chorus was so sad and lonely that it was horrifying. It actually gave him the chills. The trees themselves were alive, but it felt as if the whole forest had died. Sitting alone in the silent forest, he felt so lonely he wanted to cry. And worse, he felt intense anger toward our ancestors for not having protected the forest 75 years earlier. The elder tells this story whenever he's had a little too much to drink. Kime nods in silence. I know all about that, he almost lets himself say, but he swallows his words and smiles instead. The young man goes on. So anyhow, when the elder was sitting and crying in the forest, he says a traveler came along. A young man, big and strong, a man like you, Kime. And he said to the elder, don't ever forget how sad and lonely you are today. When you grow up, make sure you never let the children who will come 75 years after you feel this way. The elder says he doesn't remember the man's face, but he will never forget his words. He tells this story to the young people of the village over and over. Kime nods again, saying nothing, but the skin on his back seems to creep beneath his shirt. All these years, the elder has kept the promise he made to the traveler. No matter how much the merchants might oppress him, he has never let them do anything that will ruin the forest. He has kept on good terms with the neighboring villages to avoid making enemies. He has sometimes entered into dealings that were not to our advantage, and lost many chances for us to make money. This is why the village is still so poor. The young man gives a self-deprecating chuckle. Still, not one person in the village resents the elder for what he has done. The village kids have always gone into the forest to bathe themselves in the shower of the cicada chorus. That's just how we all grew up. We took it for granted. We all feel nothing but gratitude toward the elder and all the ancestors who came before him, who have enabled us to hear the cicada chorus year after year. Kime says nothing in reply, but he begins to savor the creeping feeling across his back. He brings to mind the face of that young boy he met so long ago, more than 80 years ago. Why aren't the cicadas singing? The boy sobbed. Why is there not even one cicada this year? Why did our ancestors burn down the forest back then? But he had a gleam in his eye, and that same gleam, hidden by wrinkles, still resides in the eyes of the elder. Passed down from one generation to the next, it is where the eyes of the young man guarding the fort with Kime. This is the very reason that Kime is here. Now the village, which has kept the peace for so many years, is about to be attacked. The neighboring country is expanding its power. Its army has violated the border and is heading this way. The prospects for victory are slim. The elder says, if you can get us through the summer, that is all we need. All we ask is that you help us prevent them from devastating the forest until the cicadas have planted their eggs. The neighboring country is not likely to show much interest in this poor village, which is merely a pathway for the army marching towards the city beyond the forest. If the village can hold out until the end of the summer and surrender with the coming fall, the enemy will probably charge straight through the forest and head for the city. The elder says, and when, after a nice little visit, they leave us, we'll have to offer them a parting gift. They can have this worn-out old head of mine. Laughing, he mimes cutting off his own head. The elder has transcended any unseemly attachment to the world. Is that how we're going to put that? We'll talk about this after. He has lived a full life. Now all he wants to do with his remaining time is to give the children 75 years, the future, in the future, the chance to hear the cicadas. Tell me one thing, Kime says to the young man, bringing his sword closer to hand. What's that? When you're a grown-up, will you be able to bet your life on a future that is still 75 years away? I will, he replies without the slightest hesitation. We can't see the joyful faces of children 75 years from now, but I do know that the forest has to be filled with the crying of the cicadas every summer, whether now, or the next year, or 75 years from now, or even beyond that. That's what they call the grown-up's responsibility. And I'm not the only one who believes this. All the young people of the village do. The elder has raised some damn good young people, I see. What's that? Did you say something? No, nothing at all. Kime holds himself in readiness, staring straight ahead. Dust clouds well up on the horizon. An enemy unit seems to be approaching. Cicadas cry without ceasing. The enemy is coming. All right, it's time. Kime heads out to battle. The cicada chorus reverberates endlessly as if playing the song of life. Okay, what the hell was that? I think it's supposed to be an allegory for it's worth fighting now to protect something in the future, even if you don't get to see it. But that's a bad story. That was just strange. The allegory is fine. The problem is, if you want to do that, give us a better example than some cicadas. And not that I even think it's not worth, protecting bugs. I think it is. But when it's not extinction they're trying to save them from. It's one quiet summer. My God, if I lived in that place, I would have moved. I couldn't make it through that every summer. I barely like going outside in the summer to begin with. Yeah. Strange story. Oh, hey. The enemies did not get stronger. So that's fun. We've got to drop something off at the peak, but I think we can fast forward our way there. Oh, skill hit. Alright, that's something at least. That was equipment. Oh, who has... You have slot +5 right now, okay. Just double checking that it was on somebody. Alright, potion booster. That could end up coming in useful. Biggest problem with that is I don't see a different skill that would be worth dropping that for. Or would be worth dropping for that, I guess I should say. Yeah, now when we've got stuff like waterproof. Waterproof could be very useful. Oh, okay. So, a couple of things to swap out here. I think Seth just gonna need new random stuff. Yeah, we don't need spirit magic on Seth, so we'll give her skill a hit. We will want to put max HP up to... Does Seth have open slots right now? Yes, okay. Seth already learned slot +5, okay. Okay, so we need to remember to do that. We'll do it right away so that we don't forget. HP max up to... We can start learning that. Oh, you already have HP max up 3. You know what we'll do? She has HP max up 1 and 3 on. Let's just do 2 and 3. Should we even do multiple? Yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. I don't want to do 1, 2, and 3. We're just gonna bog her down with a ton of extra HP when we know there's some other stuff that's gonna be useful. And Sarah, right? What did you learn? MP max up 2. Would definitely want that. You know what? Yeah, we actually will do more HP up for her sooner rather than later. Even though she already has the HP max up 3. For her, there might be some benefit into doubling up on some HP maxes. Okay, everybody's good then. Okay, we both learned special accessory. So my mom actually had an idea. Because I wasn't entirely sure what this like special accessory thing was. Who learned it, Kym and Sarah? Because didn't we find an accessory only Tulton could use? Let me look in here. So many friggin' accessories. At least they're somewhat sorted. No, I guess not. Alright, I still have no idea what that's for then. At least we know it for later, right? Alright. I think double item might be the best for now. Okay. Okay, so we should be able to set... I think this proves it. Oh, it's Grand Staff? A technician working on magic research said that this was a magic location. It is kind of hard to tell, though. Oh well, guess I'll put the magic gauge down here. Yeah, this was one of the side quests we picked up last week. That was the other thing we needed to do up here. So now we just gotta get back to the world map. I'm pretty sure just continuing to go forward, right? This got special accessory now too. Yeah, I still think double item might be just smart to have. Alright, everybody learned everything again. Okay, that's all equipment too. I'm gonna start with Sarah and make sure I do this right. Okay. You know what, we're just gonna put HP max up 2 for now. Alright, what else do we want to teach Sarah? We could do spell counter. I'm worried about that, as I think I've said before, that we can accidentally cast a magic we don't want to. I don't know why she couldn't. Sometimes guard, why not? We've got all this. Don't need to necessarily worry about the earlier stuff just yet. Magic defense boost. A lot of magics are hitting both lines. That might actually be a good one. Okay, and then we need to get slots onto Kime. And yeah, I guess you can start learning spirit magic. Okay. Okay, that worked out. Now we need to go back to Goatsa. Which Goatsa? South, okay. Looks like we got a treasure hint to pick up and then another dream. Hopefully a more interesting dream than cicadas. What are we? We're looking for Jeeg. Are there any names with double E's together, like common names? This person's name is Jeeg. Can't think of any common names with 2 E's. You look like a Jeeg. Ha, you are. Think about it, this nation's been fighting forever for one reason or another. Life may be comfortable here, but I bet I'd be a lot better if things would just settle down for a change. Speaking of peace, Namara is a good example of what I'm talking about. But even a peaceful nation like that was host to a band of pirates along its shores long ago. It's been said that they had a hideout in the seaside cavern. They were eventually caught, of course, but supposedly their treasure is still yet to be discovered. That's going to end up being something for Seth, right? Like it's an old stash place for Seth. Alright, now we want to go to Lowtown. We did the black belt, right? We talked to Sonya. Maybe we haven't. Somewhere in the northeast. You're not Sonya. It's another thing RPGs love to do. They like to take common names and just change a letter. Wait, did we do this? I really can't remember. Ovis? I kind of like Ovis, actually. Well, where are you, Sonya? We talked to Gelf. We did something with Gelf before, didn't we? I just realized it told me Sonya was in the northeast and I went to the northwest. Directions are hard, okay? Ah, this letter's from my son. He hasn't contacted us once since he left, to be honest. I'd given up hope on him. So he's doing well, I see. I've been so worried about him. Please tell that troublemaker to come home soon. Just don't rush him. It's dangerous right now. Thank you for delivering this letter. Here's a little something for you. Okay, let's see what the black belt is. Increases counterattack rate? I mean, yeah, because counterattack rate seems to suck right now. That'll be something we can leave on while we feel like we have the extra slots. Okay. Speak with 2 kids on the Western Path. Presumably that's over here. There we go. Do you feel any pain? I'm fine. It's just a cold. I'll be okay with some rest. Stop worrying about me. Kamikaze memory. I mean, it can't be worse than the cicada one. I shouldn't have said that. The Ranking of Lives. It's a heavy title. A terrible epidemic is ravaging the kingdom. The onset of the disease is sudden. Due to genetic or perhaps hormonal factors, it strikes only males. The victim experiences a high fever, a violent headache, and often a swift death. The disease does have 2 hopeful aspects. Is it that all the men are dead? Sorry. First of all, once an individual survives it, he need not fear of catching it again. From then on, he has immunity. Secondly, an extremely effective medicine exists. If used preventatively or in the initial stages of the disease, the drug, a tablet made primarily from a plant that grows in the mountains, almost always results in a cure. Does this mean people can relax and that there is no need to worry? Well, no, because you gotta sell it for a shit ton of money. Unfortunately not, for an ironic twist of fate is something that life tends to thrust upon people all too often. The high-altitude plant used to make the medicine that is so effective in prevention and early cure is extremely rare, verging on extinction. In other words, there is not enough medicine for all the kingdom's subjects, only for certain people. Do you see what I mean? Asked Doc, the quiet man on patrol in the capital's marketplace with his fellow military policeman Kime. Sending his sharp gaze down one alley after another, Kime responds, "You're saying they rank people to decide who gets the medicine?" "Exactly," says Doc. "In deciding the rank order, they brand us as either subjects indispensable to the nation or other subjects. Capital military policemen will receive their medicine relatively early, which demonstrates their ranking as subjects indispensable to the nation." "I guess it makes sense," Doc goes on. "If all of us were to keel over, order in the capital would break down like nothing. We always have to be the picture of health as we patrol the city, right, Kime? For the sake of the homeland, as they say." "I suppose so. First the royal family gets the medicine, then the royal guards. Third come the politicians, and then the financiers who run the country's economy. The police and firemen and doctors, and finally us, the Capitol Military Police. There's not enough to give it to just anybody." It feels like there's enough to give to a lot of people already. Doc all but spits out those final words, and he asks, "What do you think, Kime? Ordinary subjects are people too. Is it okay to rank them like that?" In theory, Kime should be able to reply without hesitation that of course it is not okay. But, realistically speaking, he says, there's no way around it. He averts his gaze from Doc's as he hears himself saying these words. "No way around it, huh?" he mutters with obvious distaste. "Maybe you're right. Maybe there is no way around it." He sounds as if he's trying to convince himself. In fact, it does seem to be the only means open to them. "The folks here in the marketplace know about the disease, obviously." "Obviously," answers Doc. "If their fears get the better of them, they could riot at any time." "Absolutely. We can just manage to keep the peace by patrolling the streets like this." "I know what you mean." "If we were to succumb to the disease, their lives would all be put at more risk. If we can't dose every subject in the kingdom, all we can do is think about how best to keep the harm or the impact of the disease to an absolute minimum." "I couldn't have said it better myself, Kime. You get a perfect score. Good job." His words of praise carry obvious barbs. Sensing their presence, Kime falls silent. Underlying Doc's sharp comments is not only the pain of biting sarcasm, but the sorrow of helplessness. Two children, a boy and a younger girl, run past the men laughing. Dressed in rags, they have probably come from the slum behind the market to gather scraps of vegetables little better than garbage. Doc points to their receding forms and says, "I'd like to ask you a question, Kime." "All right." "Are those kids subjects indispensable to the nation?" Kime has no answer for him, because he knows the right answer all too well. He can only lapse into silence. Responding to Kime's silence with a bitter smile, Doc goes on. "According to your logic, Kime, if those kids fall sick and die, there's no way around it. Or at least Capitol Police like us have a greater right to the medicine than those kids do. Am I right, Kime? Isn't that what you're saying?" Kime could hardly declare that he was wrong. Responding again to Kime's silence, Doc says, "Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not attacking you. It's just that everybody is indispensable to somebody, even those kids. They may be just a nuisance to the state, poor beggars, but to their parents they are indispensable lives that must be protected at all cost. Am I wrong?" What a kind-hearted fellow, Kime thinks. Maybe too kind. To a degree that could prove fatal for a soldier. From the direction of the castle comes the sound of the great bell, an emergency assembly signal to the soldier patrolling the streets. The medicine seems to have arrived for them. "Let's head back," Doc pipes up, apparently emerging from his gloom. "Let's be good boys and take the miraculous medicine that's going to save our lives and protect the kingdom." The sorrow-filled thorns sprouting from his words pierce Kime through the heart. It is the following day when Doc tells Kime of his plan to desert. "I'm only telling this to you, Kime," he says when they are patrolling the marketplace again. "I know the punishment for desertion is harsh. I'm not sure I can make it all the way, and if I'm caught, I know I'll be court-martialed and executed." He has resigned himself to that possibility, he says, which is why he wants to make sure that Kime knows the purpose of his desertion. "I'm not betraying the country or the army. I just have to deliver this." In his open palm lies the tablet that he was issued the day before. "You didn't take it?" Kime asks, shocked. "No, I fooled them," he chuckles, immediately turning serious again and closing his open hand. "You're going to deliver this tablet." "Uh-huh." Doc holds out his hand now, pointing towards the mountains south of the capital. "At the foot of those mountains is the village where I was born. My wife and son are there. He's just 5 years old, and he's been sickly since the day he was born. If he gets the disease, it's all over for him." "So you're going to give him the medicine. Do you think it's wrong of me to do that?" Transfixed by Doc's stare, Kime is at a loss for words. Suddenly, the gentle Doc's eyes betray a murderous gleam. "I may be a soldier dedicated to protecting the nation, but before that I am the father of a son, and before that I am a human being. I don't give a damn about the kingdom's rankings of lives according to whether or not they are indispensable. I want to save the life of one human being who is indispensable to me." Doc's eyes take on added strength. They are bloodshot now, clear proof of his resolve. "If I leave now, I can be back in the barracks by roll call tomorrow morning. I'll leave home as soon as I give him the medicine, so I'm asking you to do me this one favor. Don't cause any commotion until then." "No, of course not, but I'm not sure I can make it, but I am sure my boy will die if I just stay here. He'll pull through if he has the medicine. If there's even the slightest possibility of that, I have no choice. I have to take a chance." "They'll kill you if they catch you." "I don't care. I can die with pride knowing I did it to save the life of one person most important to me. What if you get sick?" "All I can do is leave it up to fate." Doc smiles. "Human beings can't do anything about fate, but I want to do everything I can as a human being." This is why Doc has revealed his plans to Kime. "One more thing, Kime. If they kill me, or if I get sick and die, I hope I can depend on you to visit my village sometime and tell my wife and son what happened. Make sure they know that I didn't desert because I got fed up with the army. I did it to save my son's life, which is something that is way more important to me than army rules and even more important than my own life." "You will be satisfied as long as that message gets through," he says with a smile. Kime has no way to reply to this. Not that Kime fully accepts everything Doc has said to him. He is convinced not so much by the man's reasoning as he is overwhelmed by something that transcends reasoning, by the power of life, by the power of strength and depth of Doc's desire to save a life precisely because it is something that will eventually be cut off by death. "I'm going to make a run for it while we're still patrolling the marketplace. I'm asking you to look the other way. Tell them I disappeared when you took your eyes off me for a split second." Kime can do nothing but accept Doc's plea in silence. He sees that deep in the hearts of those who love finite life is a place that cannot be entered by those who have been burdened irrevocably with life everlasting. The two men reach the far end of the marketplace. "All right, then. Sorry to put you through this," Doc says. He turns towards the exit and is about to plunge into the crowd when it happens. A child comes bounding out of the alleyway. It is the same shabbily dressed girl from the slums who ran past the men yesterday laughing. Today she is alone and crying her head off. She looks around with wild eyes, and when she spots Kym and Doc in uniform, she comes running to them, shouting, "Help! Help!" "What's the matter?" Doc asks. She takes his hand and leads him into the alleyway as if to prevent the surrounding people from hearing what she is about to tell him. "It's my brother," she blurts out. "He's sick. He's got a high fever and he's shaking all over. We've got to do something or he's going to die." Kym and Doc look at each other. "How about your parents? Don't you have a father or mother to take care of him?" Kym asks. "What parents?" the girl retorts tearfully. "They both died a long time ago. There's just me and my big brother. Oh, please help him. Please." "But I was just," Doc mutters, fidgeting, ready to run. He looks at Kym with pleading eyes. Kym kneels down and looks at the girl straight in the eye. "When did his fever start?" he asks. "Just a few minutes ago," she says. "We were leaving to pick up vegetable scraps and he fell down." Only a little time has passed since the disease struck. He could still be saved by the medicine. But of course there is no medicine for slum children. Judging from the girl's wasted frame, her brother must also be eating poorly. The disease will almost surely ravage his malnourished body and snatch his life in a matter of hours. The girl will not come down with the disease, of course, but even if it cannot attack her directly, once she has lost the only other member of her family and has no one to take care of her, the tiny thing is bound to trace the same fatal path as her parents and brother, sooner or later. "Please help my brother. Please." She clings to Kym and Doc, huge tears streaming down her cheeks. Kym gives her a slight, silent nod. He raises slowly and reaches for a small leather pouch dangling from his sword hilt. Before he can lay hold of it, he hears Doc saying to the little girl, "Don't worry." Doc is holding out his hand to her, smiling gently. In the palm of his hand is a tablet. "Give this to your brother," Doc says. "There's still time to save him." The girl gives him a puzzled look and hesitates until he urges her, "Hurry, do it now." She reaches for it uncertainly and takes it in hand with great care. "Hurry home now," Doc says with a smile for her. The girl dashes off. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Her shrill, tearful voice rings out as she disappears into the alleyway. "I'm glad it worked out like this, Kym," Doc says with a shrug and a pained smile. "So now I won't be branded a deserter, and I won't have to give you anything to worry about. No, this is a good thing." He sounds as if he's trying to convince himself. He even nods deeply in agreement. Surely he cannot have done this without regrets, especially if his son is at home, if his son at home should take sick and die. His voice is calm, however, as he says, "I couldn't help it. When I saw that little girl crying like that, I know my son would understand." He gives himself another deep nod. "Still, Doc." "Never mind. Don't say a thing." Doc cuts him off and squints towards the alleyway the girl ran down. There's absolutely no rank order to lives. The only thing that matters is to save a life you see with your own two eyes. "I know what you mean," says Kym. "Just because I saved one slum kid's life, there's no guarantee he'll grow up to be a credit to the nation. Maybe all I succeeded in doing was prolonging the life of yet another drag on the state. Maybe after I get back to the barracks, I'll start thinking of other people I should have saved instead of him. On the other hand, Kym," he says, interrupting himself and turning to look at Kym as he considers yet another possibility. "On the other hand, I look at it this way too. Maybe it's just a matter of innate human instinct to want to save the life before your eyes. Maybe we learn those other kinds of ranking later, for the nation or for the people or even for my son. I may have failed as a soldier or as a father, but I think I did the right thing as a human being. Doc stops himself there and starts walking without waiting for Kime to reply. He might be trying to hide his embarrassment at his own tortured reasoning. Seeing this, Kime produces a laugh and calls out to Doc, as casually as if he were suggesting they go to the tavern for drinks. Hey, Doc. Huh? You forgot this. Now Kime finishes what he interrupted before, reaching for the leather pouch tied to his sword hilt. From it, he takes a small pill. What? You mean I didn't take it? Incapable of losing his life to a disease, Kime had no use for the medicine to begin with. Of course, he has no intention of telling Doc about that. Even if he were to try telling him that he has lived 1,000 years, it is not likely that Doc would take him seriously. You have a family, Doc. Lives you'd give anything to protect. It's a great thing. Now Kime holds out a hand with a tablet in the way Doc did earlier to the girl. I envy you, he says with a smile. Wait, Kime, wait. Hey, I don't have a family, he says, increasing the depth of his smile. Responding to Kime's smile with its mixture of loneliness and warmth, Doc silently accepts the tablet. Well now, would you look at that beautiful blue sky, says Kime. I think I'll just stand here a while, looking up at it, not thinking about anything at all. Might be a good time for you to run home to your son. Kime does as he says, looking up at the sky. Before long, he hears the sound of footsteps running across the stone pavement. Make sure you come back alive, Doc, Kime mutters. Kime strolls along, looking up at the blue sky, until he disappears into the marketplace crowd. I know that mentioned him having lived 1,000 years, but I don't know, something about that story made me feel like it took place maybe earlier in Kime's time or his travels. I don't know. It was just a weird feeling throughout that it was a younger Kime almost. Not necessarily because he agreed with the state doctrine on who should get pills, but I don't know. It was like he hadn't found something yet that he has in some of the later stories or earlier stories. Or I'm just waxing poetic. Either way, I gotta grab some water real quick. What is this nonsense? We gotta do a whole bunch of crap here. Alright. We need to find Gibble? Gibble? I'm not entirely sure. It does look like Anubis. Huh, yeah. Wait a moment. Aren't you the immortal who... whatever. I don't care about anything anymore. All of my friends are gone. This ice took all those who didn't meet their end in the Highlands of Wool. If you really are an immortal, won't you go to the Highlands of Wool and bring back the keepsake of the Kent? If I had that in hand, at least I could feel that their deaths were worth something. What? You aren't actually going to listen to this guy, are you? You're going to have to let it go, okay? There was a massive landslide in Wool. The battlefield was completely buried in mud. Maybe someone took whatever it is you're looking for during the battle. If that's the case, it'd be impossible to track it down. Besides, what happened was not your fault. Gengor is the one to blame. Him and his unstable grand staff. You should stop thinking about it. Well, I refuse to stop thinking about it. Why do you want us to do this? Okay. Looks like there's items we can get in the apartment complex before we continue on. We'll look at what we're buying together, and then since I'm kind of just doing a bunch of traveling, we'll queue up that fast forward. We want to go to the 10th floor. We weren't able to shop here before, right? Is that what was going on here? So I remember coming over it. Maybe they just have new items? No, they wouldn't let us shop, right? Why are they going to let us now? You aren't Goatson, are you? Well, what's past is in the past, so please just buy whatever. Oh, maybe that's why, because why not? Okay, don't need that. Don't need that. No. Holy scepter for Sarah. Wait, it says we have 2 in stock already. Hold on before I look at anything else. Is there a better weapon that we could just put on Sarah right away? Apparently. Must be somebody else's discard. I wonder how much money we could make real quick if we sold stuff. We have wisdom earrings. Don't we already have a pair of those? Do we not have a white flame candle? I would have swore we had all of this already. I don't know, we have so many frickin' anti-things. Alright, alright, so we need to look for level 1 spirit and 6 spirit, anti-darkness, and 6 black and white. It's moderately annoying that it won't tell me, because somebody has it equipped. There's the 6 spirit magic. Okay, so Seth had both of those things equipped. Doesn't actually answer where level 1 spirit magic is. Not that I'm too desperate for that. But that means we do not have an anti-darkness. So that would actually be good to grab. You know, just for completionists' sake, we'll just get one of each. It's only 300 G to begin with. Okay, I have no idea why this thing wanted me to come over here now. Do you have something? Goats has been decimated. My sales volume is in the gutter. I don't care if you're Goatson. No? Maybe it just wanted to let us know we could stock up. Alright. I feel like we're even pretty... Well, we'll get some more mana capsules since we're here. Yeah, I don't really care about any of this. Alright. So we have to backtrack all the way to Aura just to come right back here. So... enjoy the fast forward. There's not even going to be combat in that, so we're not even going to fast forward. You just saw a cut instead of a fast forward. Left of the taxi. I got mail from my family almost immediately after you delivered mine to them. Guess my letter must have looked pretty pathetic, huh? Do you know about the landslide in the Highlands of Wool? Okay, this is what we wanted. I was talking with some grunt who went to investigate, but the way he put it, the battlefield's completely buried now. There's nothing left to investigate, he said. Everything's gone except for a few pieces of useless junk here and there. Funny to think that garbage is all that's left to tell the tale of the Wool tragedy. What do they do with the junk? Well, he said they'll probably sell it off once the investigation's complete. That's the army for you, huh? It's mostly stuff like Kent military swords and broken magic weaponry. I told him that nobody wanted to buy that stuff. But you know Barkus, the guy's got a shop in Aurora City. My contact said he might buy it all up. I highly doubt Barkus would do that willingly, though. Yeah, we know Barkus. We shop there. Central Station, yeah? Yeah. So we're looking for, broken Kent sword. See how annoying it would have been to do all this stuff without, something telling us the best order to do it in. Would have been like we were actually playing a game. That's too much. That's not fair. Why can I never remember if blue is in or purple is in? Blue's the in. Damn it. Alright. Examine this sword. The Highlands of Wool is a wilderness nowadays, I hear. People bring me weapons and things they find lying around over there, but it's all junk. I wouldn't sell any of it. Alright, good talk, bro. I guess that sword is not the sword it wants me to inspect. Broken Kent sword lies here. Pick it up. Yes. They look the same. What are you looking at there? A busted sword, huh? Hey, Barkus, this thing for sale or what? No, someone bought that in from an expedition into the Highlands. It's a fancy piece of work, but it's useless now, of course. If that was an Orin, I'd make half an effort to find its owner's next of kin. But with the Kent, well, you can take it if you like. I don't care. Okay, that's what we had to do. I'll see you back in Gotza. Alright, we're back. I know travel time's not that long, but you guys watch me do enough shit. It's worth it to fast forward when there's fights and things that might actually happen. Nothing was happening there. This is the sword my friend bought with him to Wool. You actually found this for me. Listen, Immortal. You killed my friends in the Wool Highlands. You ought to be my sworn enemy by normal standards. But we, the Kents, value friendship above all else, and I owe you a great debt for helping me commemorate my friends. So please take this. Happy flower. Oh, are we gonna be hippies? Crisis prayer automatically recovers HP during critical HP status. Okay, that's something. I'll be interested to see how that ends up falling on what we think is the most useful to have. But that is definitely something that could provide some use. Question, do we think that's more useful on the back line or the front line? I guess it would depend on how much it heals. We have Prey as kind of a heal already, don't we? And it's fairly small. So maybe something for the back line then? Give them a chance to maybe survive a little longer, or maybe survive 2 attacks in a turn if one of them would have gotten them. I don't know. We'll have to play with that. Okay. Back to the refugee camp. Well, hey, does everybody remember when we learned how to run there? It was very embarrassing. Oh god, we have back-to-back dreams. Wow, I really hope you guys like my voice. Thank god I got that water. medical tent? Which one was the medical tent? Oh, it just says approach. I don't have to go in, so. Here we go. Oh my god, we have 3 dreams. Okay. The village closest to heaven. In this village ringed by jagged mountains, the women give birth to many children. 5 or 6 is not uncommon. At the same time? Just the other day, the wife of the village headman gave birth to her 10th child. And why do you think that is? The young fellow asked the traveler, looking down at the snow-blanketed village. Time cocks his head in search of an answer. Meanwhile, the young man takes something like a piece of crystal candy from a small leather pouch. He pops it into his mouth and says with a laugh, "Because they die right away." "The children?" "Uh-huh. Hardly anybody grows up to be an adult. Most kids die after 5 or 6 short summers. Look at the village headman's wife. She's lost 7 kids already." Whether from a genetic problem or a disease endemic to the area, the people of this village have always lived short lives, he says, from way, way back. "Now that you mention it," says Kime, "I haven't seen any old people here." That explains why the village headman isn't an elder. See what I mean? A few decades ago, I'm told, one person lived to be 50, but people say that's the oldest anyone ever got in the whole history of the village. This is why we give birth to lots of kids. Give birth to a lot and lose a lot. If just one of them lives into adulthood, though, the family line is saved and the village history continues. You see my point? Not really. Can you try moving? Like if you moved, maybe something would change? The young man is 16, as is his wife. Their first child is due to be born any day now. Literally today or tomorrow. The young man crunches down on the candy in his mouth. "Let's get going," he says, and around his wrists he winds the ropes he used to pull the sled. He hasn't loaded the sled yet, but dragging it up the steep, snow-covered road is hard work. This, he says, is why the pay is so good. Only a few days earlier, he lost his good friend and fellow worker, who had been 3 years his senior. When Kime happened along, the young man asked him if he would help by pushing the sled from behind until they cleared the pass. Kime agreed, and they became an instant team. Kime circles around to the back of the sled and asks, "You don't have any animals to pull the sled?" "Afraid not," says the young man. "I know it's strange, but our horses and cattle and donkeys all die young. You can spend a lot of money at the town market buying an animal and it'll keel over before it's done a lick of work. Finally, the best way is for us humans to plow the fields and pull the sleds ourselves." The arms of which the young man pulls himself pulling... I know, that was bad. The arms with which the young man himself is pulling his sled are massive, and he forges through the road's snowy cover with powerful steps. His fellow worker was stronger still, he says. He taught me how to pull the sled, how to set rabbit traps, how to build a fire, all the skills I need to live, with all the love he would give to a kid brother. Before I knew it, he was gone. People here always die suddenly, he says. They can be perfectly healthy one minute and drop dead the next. No time for suffering. Just like that. No time to call a doctor. Even if a doctor comes, there's nothing he can do. Did your friend die that way? Uh-huh. He was shoveling the snow that piled up overnight, clearing the road, when he dropped dead. By the time we ran over to help him, he was gone. That's how it always is. Always. That's how they die. Grown-ups, kids, everyone. And you too, then? I guess so. Nobody knows when the moment is coming. Might be decades from now, or it could be tomorrow. After this cool pronouncement, the young man turned to look at Kime and, pointing to his own chest, says with a smile, or maybe even now. The smile is genuine, without a hint of despair or bitterness towards the cruelty of his fate. Aren't you afraid to die? Kime starts to ask him, but stops himself. It's a stupid question, he decides, and one that he is not qualified to ask. Where could a man burdened with eternal life find appropriate words to speak to a man burdened with the threat of sudden death? Kime and the young man keep dragging the sled up the steep mountain path. Their destination is the lake beyond the pass. The young man's job calls for him to cut ice from the surface of the frozen lake and transport it back to the village. We in the village call the lake the Spring of Life. If you trace the source of the water that bubbles out of the ground here and there in the village, you always wind up at the Spring of Life. Kime nods silently. The ice from the Spring of Life takes forever to melt. That's why, look, you can even do this. Again, the young man takes a piece of the crystal candy, or rather ice, from his leather pouch and puts it in his mouth. It gives you energy. They're taking drugs! It's indispensable when doing hard work or for pregnant women or infants. Just put a piece in your mouth and it gives you instant strength. The young man offers a piece to Kime, who nods again in silence. We're really not supposed to give any to outsiders, but you're special because I'm putting you to work. If I give it to you, though, I want you to help me load the ice on the sled. I can handle it by myself on the way back. Kime silently accepts the ice from the young man, who assures him it tastes good, too, and watches him smiling. Kime averts his gaze somewhat and puts the piece in his mouth. It's crystal meth! The ice should be nothing but frozen water, but it has a mild sweetness, just as Kime expected. He spits it out when the young man is not looking. Poison. I know that taste, thinks Kime. The village people are used to this taste, so they think nothing of it. Without a doubt, though, there is poison in the ice. The long flow of time smooths over the wounds inflicted by history. The permanently snow-capped peaks make people forget the existence of the wide world on the other side. The young man calls this lake the Spring of Life, but those who lived far beyond the mountains at the source of the river that feeds the lake used to know it as the Pit of Death. Long, long ago, several hundred years ago, the entire area around the river's source was polluted with the poisonous metallic outflow from a mine. The river was filled with dead fish floating belly up, and the poisonous gas that rose like a mist from the ground killed both the earthbound animals and the birds in the sky. The forests withered, and the lively town that had grown up with the development of the mine became a deserted ruin. Nature took many years to recover, but the forest eventually turned green again, which attracted small animals, and eventually the larger animals that hunted them. People, however, never came back. There was no one left to hand down the story of the tragedy that occurred at the river's source deep in the mountains. The only one who knows everything that happened is Kime, the man who has lived 1,000 years. The young man stands by the frozen lake and takes a nice, satisfying stretch. You know, he says to the traveler, I sometimes think this village just might be the closest one to heaven in the whole world. Perhaps it's because we are too close to heaven that we're all summoned by the gods early on. Don't you think that might be true? Kime says nothing in response to this. Over many years, this lake has accumulated the metallic poison that flowed into it from upstream. And over many years, the poison that infiltrated the soil has mingled with the groundwater, bubbling up into the spring water with which the village slaked their thirst. Slake? I've never heard that word before. No one knows the exact chemical makeup of the poison, but at least it does not cause the villagers to suffer until, at that last moment of their lives, the accumulated poison suddenly takes its toll. This may be its one fortunate aspect. On the other hand, this might simply make the misfortune it brings all the more conspicuous. Still, the young man says as he saws off a piece of ice by the shore, I do hope that the children my wife and I have will be able to live longer lives. Say, if we have 5, at least one of them will live long enough to grow up and have kids. That way, for me, it would be like finding some meaning in having been born into this world. It was the same with my father and mother, and my grandparents. They all had lots of kids and mourned the loss of lots of kids, but managed to raise 1 or 2 to adulthood before they died. That's what gives our life meaning. He wipes the sweat from his brow and puts another piece of ice candy in his mouth. If I were to tell him everything I know, thinks Kime, if I were to tell him everything that has been buried in the darkness of history, and if I were to tell the other villagers, the tragedy might not have to be repeated. The young man says, when a baby is born here, they ring the village bell. Also when someone dies. The same for both. Birth and death are like 2 sides of the same coin. So there's no sadness when someone dies. Everybody sees them off with a smile and a wish. You go ahead of us to heaven and save a good spot for us. Do you understand that sentiment? I do, says Kime. I do. That's how we've always done it, welcoming lots of new lives to the village and sending lots of lives off to heaven. I've never been much of a student, so I don't know exactly how to put this, but I kind of think that maybe the village closest to heaven is a place where life and death are right next door to each other. The young man gives Kime an embarrassed smile at the sound of his own words. Maybe it's because I'm about to have a kid of my own that I'm starting to think about these complicated things. No, that's fine. I see exactly what you mean, Kime says. The moment the words leave his mouth, a bell sounds from the foot of the hill. Several long, slow rings. That's it, exclaims the young man. My child has been born. And I hope that's what it is. He dips his head and says again, as if savoring the sound of his own words, my child. While the bell is rung likewise for births and deaths, the young man says, the sound in each case is subtly different. Okay. When a young villager learns how to tell the 2 apart, he or she is considered to be an adult. I hope this one lives a long time, the young man says, choking with the flood of emotions that show on his face. But then he goes on as if to negate his own hopes for the future. Either way, whether it lives a long time or not, my child has now been born into this world. That is all that matters. I'm so happy. So happy. Eyes full of tears, he turns a beatific? Beatific? Anybody know that word? Email me and let me know. Smile on Kime. And then, still smiling, he collapses where he stands. Kime lays the young man's corpse on the sled and returns to the village. As the young man said, the villagers accepted his death with the same smiles they had for the birth of his baby. Death is not a time for sorrow. It simply marks whether one has been called to heaven earlier or later. The young man's wife takes an iced candy from the leather pouch he has left behind and places it gently into the baby's mouth. I want you to grow up to be strong and healthy, she says. Daddy is saving a wonderful place for you up in heaven, but go there slowly. Slowly. And until you go to heaven, I want you to grow up here in the village till you're nice and big. Her words have the gentle tone of a lullaby. Time says nothing. If he is to stand unflinchingly for what is right, his silence may be a crime. But, burdened with eternal life, time knows how suspect the right can be. Throughout history, people have fought and wounded and killed each other in the name of what they declare to be right. By comparison, the look on the dead young man's face is tranquility itself. The village closest to heaven is filled with happiness indeed. The baby starts to cry. Its loud wailing like a celebration of the beginning of its own life, however short that life is likely to be. Time leaves the village with a smile on his face. The village bell begins to peal, reverberating with utter clarity through the distant mountains, as if to bestow a blessing on the young man who lived life to the fullest with neither resentment nor regret. And when this too long life of mine draws to a close, Kime thinks, I'd like to be sent off with the sound of a bell like this if possible. Because he knows that day will never come, Kime walks on, never stopping, never looking back. His long journey is far from over. 2 things. First one being, don't eat yellow snow. Apparently don't eat any snow. Second one being, Kime leaving these people to super sad fate is poetically interesting, but kind of an evil dick move. You're not giving them the choice, Kime. That's the problem. That's my opinion on that one. If you have a different one, well, I don't care. Speak with opposite the inn. Who the hell does it want me to talk to? I guess you. I'm glad this cave's safe, but it's so gloomy inside here. If only we could get the magic engine working. I'm guessing it's broken. Actually, I have no idea about how it works. All magic engines are the same. Let me have a look at it. I'll get that going in a jiffy. Really? Actually, there's 6 broken magical engines here. I'll pay you for it if you can repair them all. 6? That's a lot to ask, isn't it? Well, alright, I'll take care of them. I like that Sed is apparently just some kind of super duper mechanic. Oh, I'm not at all in the right spot. We gotta go down here too. Where do you think you dual skill learn piracy and engineering? Or do you just learn engineering because you're a pirate? These are the questions we really need the answers to. God, there's 6 of these. Alright, that's all of them. Or at least it should be. Never thought anyone could fix all the engines. Here's a little gift from everyone. Ah, death powder. How is anything called death powder a gift? Is this not the fire camp? Guess maybe not, since that's food. Our next story just says approach the fire camp. The hell is a fire camp? Are you a fire camp? Let's see if this other story will pop up. In the medical tent. Speak with Melanie. Why are our dreams not here? My dreams are gone, everyone. Maybe they have to be done in order. Huh. Apparently I didn't stand in the exact right spot. I call a little bit of shenanigan on that one. It does look like these ones have to be triggered in order too, so. The waterfall lies deep in the forest, more than a day's travel from the nearest village. It is said to be a holy place. In search of the divine amid the towering peaks, pilgrims stand beneath the plunging falls in their final aesthetic? I don't know that word either. This game's making me feel dumb today, everybody. Practice. The water of the falls is freezing cold. All it takes is a momentary lapse of concentration, and the person is hammered down by the rushing water. Didn't Naruto do this? Stones of Heaven. Pilgrims call this waterfall the Stones of Heaven. Heaven is testing their mental and physical strength, they say, by hurling an endless stream of stones down upon them in the form of the powerful waterfall. And the stones have a mysterious power, a former pilgrim says to Kime with a pained smile. He himself failed in this final austerity, he adds. Different stones of heaven fall on each person. It's as if they can see into your heart. What do you mean? Kime asks. The burdens you bore and the dreams you dreamed in the secular world appear to you one after another. In his own case, he says, what came to him first were the voices of women. The water plunging down into the basin of the falls began to sound like women's voices. Sweet voices whispering in my ear. Voices sobbing. Voices moaning in lover's embrace. An incredible variety. And for better or worse, I knew every single one of them. Some I was thrilled to hear again, while others I hated remembering. Meaning you've gotten yourself into a lot of trouble involving women? I have indeed. Not to boast or anything, but that was one battlefield I knew better than anybody. I survived, but I made a lot of women cry, and there were a lot of them I loved. My whole purpose in undertaking the austerities was to put that life behind me, but the stones of heaven know what they're doing. In the final test, they go after your greatest weakness. If you waver the slightest bit, you've had it. The water slams you down and your austerities are over. The man feeds a stick of kindling into the campfire. And I'm not the only one, he continues. One fellow heard the voice of a mother he hadn't seen since he was a little boy. Another heard the voice of his dead child. Is it always voices? I wish it were. If you hold up through the voices, the waterfall's mists start changing into the shapes of people. You might see somebody who you had hated so much in the secular world that you wanted to kill him. Or it might be some loan shark you had to go into hiding to get away from. One little flinch and you're done for. This particular austerity can be performed only once. There are no second chances. Someone who is preserved for a whole day and night but who fails in the end has no choice but to return to the secular world in defeat, as this man did. Also, I said preserved instead of persevered, but we're going to pretend that it says preserved because I think that's funnier. Not that this was an easy for me to get on my feet again once I was back there either. The man chuckles and calls out to a young pilgrim. Or, more precisely, to a young man who was a pilgrim until a few moments ago, but who has just now dragged himself up from the lip of the basin in utter dejection. Hey, young fellow, the campfire's over here. I've got liquor to warm up your insides and some fresh grilled meat. Get a little of that in your stomach and you'll have the strength to make it down to the village. The man now makes his living as a master of the tea house by the waterfall. Of course, pilgrims undergoing austerities carry no money with them, but the man is not expecting to become rich doing this work. For bodies chilled by long hours of pounding under the waterfall, he provides a warming fire, food and drink, and sometimes even money to tide them over when they first go down to the village. Payment can be made at any time. The men can bring him the money after they have started to take in earnings again from jobs they find in the secular world. He sets no date for repayment. He takes no IOUs. He says he is fine with that. Aren't there some who don't pay at all? Pime asks. Of course there are, the man says matter-of-factly. But I think of my running this tea house as another kind of discipline for myself. Another kind of discipline? That's right. Stones of Heaven will accept only the strongest pilgrims, the one unperturbed by anything. The role I want to play is to accept the ones who were broken by the Stones of Heaven, the weak human beings. I want to go on accepting the weakest of the weak, the kind who not only succumb to the Stones of Heavens, but who even fail to pray for their food and drink afterwards. That is your kind of discipline? Exactly. It makes for a hard living, that's for sure. I thought I was prepared to deal with cheats and weaklings, but there are a lot more of those than I ever bargained for, he declares with a hearty laugh. But then he quickly turns serious and says, to tell you the truth, I think of this less as a form of discipline than as a way to get even. Get even? With whom? With those gods or whatever they are that kept hurling their stones of heaven. Human beings are weak, shockingly so in the eyes of a god. But I think, and this is not just because of what happened to me, that being weak is the best thing about human beings. Weakness can make us cunning, but it can also make us kind. Weakness can torment us, but it can just as easily be our salvation. Don't you see? If the gods are hurling down their stones of heaven just to make people aware of their own weaknesses, just to make us savor our own powerlessness, then I'd just as soon drop my trousers and moon them. I'll slap my bare butt and say to them, I'm not like you. I'm not going to punish human beings for being weak. I accept them for what they are, weakness and all. The man feeds a new piece of kindling to the fire and says with a shy shrug, I guess I got carried away. Pime smiles and shakes his head as if to say, not at all. Tell me, though, the man goes on, I see you're a traveler, but you don't seem to be a pilgrim. You're right, I'm not, Pime says. I was trying to cross over the pass and took the wrong road. Well then, as long as you're here, why not give the Stones of Heaven a try? It'll be something to talk about. No thanks, Pime says, smiling. What's the matter? Afraid they're going to show you whatever it is that shakes you up? Man smiles and nods. Can't say I blame you, though. The man is mistaken about Kime. He is not the least bit afraid of such a thing. What scares him is the opposite prospect, that of not being shaken up, of encountering in himself a person unmoved by anything at all. Anyway, it would be suicide to jump in the waterfall without preparation. How's that? It's freezing cold, for one thing. There's even colder water bubbling up from a spring in the basin. Even the most well-conditioned person has to be careful and take time to accustom himself to the low temperature. If you go in all at once, it can stop your heart. The man jerks his chin in the direction of the falls as if to say, "Look at them." 2 new pilgrims are preparing themselves for a challenge of the stones of heaven. The men appear to be brothers. The older one kneels at the edge of the basin, splashing himself and massaging the cold water into his skin from foot to heart level. The younger brother is too impatient for that. He wants to jump right under the falls. That's a bad idea. The elder brother cautions him and takes all the time he needs to accustom himself to the water's coldness. He exudes the quiet power of one who has withstood the most rigorous training. "Aha," the tea house owner says to Kime, smiling. "We're in for a rare privilege. I think we're about to see the first successful attempt in a long while." "You can tell?" Kime asks. "You can if you've spent as much time here as I have. The winners and losers are decided before the men even step under the falls." Alright, it's going to be the younger one that succeeds, right? Having completed his meticulous preparations, the elder brother enters the basin. Even then, the steps he takes are slow and cautious. The younger brother follows him, kicking up spray with every step. "The younger one is hopeless," says the man with a sigh, adding another stick of kindling to the fire. I guess I got it wrong then. "I'd better get the liquor ready now," he mutters to himself. The brothers stand side by side beneath the pounding waterfall. Stones of heaven rain down upon them. As the man predicted, the elder brother, utterly calm, stands up to the onslaught of images sent by the stones of heaven. Also, as the man predicted, the younger brother yields to the stones of heaven and is beaten down into the basin of the waterfall. But then something happens that goes far beyond what the man predicted. Writhing in agony, the younger brother bobs helplessly in the basin, unable to raise himself. He is drowning. He tears at his own chest. His heart is failing. He was not fully prepared to enter the icy water. "Help me, brother, please." But the elder brother doesn't move. He remains under the waterfall in total concentration. "Hey, what are you doing there? Hurry and help him," the man yells. The elder brother's expression remains unchanged. He never flinches. "He's drowning. You can't leave him like that. He'll die." The elder brother never moves. He grits his teeth, keeps his eyes clamped shut, and shows no sign of moving out from under the waterfall, as if to declare, "This is it. This is the final test of the stones of heaven." The man screams at him, "You idiot," and dives into the rolling basin in a rash effort to help the younger brother. For the moment his untrained body hits the frigid water, the shock seizes his heart. Still, he reaches toward the drowning brother who is sinking beneath the surface. A great shudder goes through him, and with an enormous groan, he takes hold of the young man's wrist and pulls his limp body toward him. He tries to return to the shore, but his strength gives out, and he falls back into the water. Next, it's Kime's turn to dive into the basin beneath the falls. He takes hold of the 2 unconscious men and drags them toward the shore. Stones of heaven pour down on Kime as he is assaulted by one vision after another. Battlefields, scenes from his wanderings, shooting stars, the climbing and sinking sun, raging winds, and countless deaths of those he has come to know on the road of his all too long life. It will do you no good. He silently declares to the gods hurling the stones of heaven at him. My heart remains unmoved. I have lived through a reality far crueler than any phantom you can show me. Whether or not his life is a sign of his strength, he does not know. He will not boast of it, nor will he tell the tale to others. He has, however, lived it. That much is certain. He has lived it through the years. Kime climbs onto the shore and lays the limp bodies of the tea-house master and the younger brother beside the fire. He warms himself, he thinks. As he warms himself, he thinks. The gods who hurl the stones of heaven are inferior gods. If they could truly see into everything, they would never have been foolish enough to show Kime scenes from his past. For what would disturb him most of all would be the unwelcome sights of moments from his own limitless future. And if they were to ask him one simple question, for what purpose were you born? His knees would buckle in an instant. The first to regain consciousness is the young pilgrim. The tea-house master's condition is critical. Kime attempts to warm him and massage his clenched heart have little effect. Pull together now. Look, we've got a fire here. A fire you built. Let it warm you. Kime shouts into his ear until the man finally manages to force his eyes open a crack and move his purple lips. Is he all right? Sure, he's fine. Don't worry. Oh, good. Good. Pull yourself together, man. Tell me, though, is strength the same as coldness? Never mind. Stop talking. Because if that is true, if strength is coldness, I don't want any part of it. The man gives Kime a faint smile and closes his eyes. He will never open them again. Human beings are weak and fragile. All it takes for a person to die is for a fist-sized organ to stop beating. Human kindness, on the other hand, may derive from everyone's profound awareness of the fragility of life. Facing the tea-house master's lifeless corpse, the younger brother hangs his head and cries. This weak man, defeated by the stones of heaven, sheds heartfelt tears for the man who saved his life. His strong elder brother, meanwhile, is still being pounded by the waterfall, unfazed by the stones of heaven. Surely his strength will be recognized by the gods, and he will bring his aesthetic training to perfect completion. Still, Kime finds the tear-stained face of the younger brother beautiful in a way the stronger elder brothers can never be, and he wishes that he himself could be moved like the younger man. There was an unmatched nobility in the last smile of the tea-house master who gave up his life to save that of a complete stranger. Kime wishes that he too could experience such feelings. And what of my own face? Living through 1,000 years of life is not strength. Yet, burdened with a life he cannot lose, will Kime ever be able to change weakness into kindness? This he cannot tell. He can only live unknowing. He can only walk on. He can only continue his journey. Kime looks at his reflection in the basin of the waterfall. On the water's heaving surface, he sees... Why is that? That one just started going on its own. I didn't see the last line. I was not hitting A for that. That one just started ramping up and going on its own. I'm sorry, everybody. I mean, we got it. Kime saw sadness. Shocker, right? Okay, before we do our third story in a row, I'm going to take my little break, move around, stretch. It's been 2 hours. If you've been sitting there, you should do the same. And the good news is we only have one more story today. Which is very, very good for my throat. I don't know if you guys can hear it yet, but I'm getting a little hoarse. Does that make me a pony? I'll sing myself out. Ow, it hurts. Mom said I'd get better if I take my medicine, but it still hurts. Signpost. I'll be gone soon, Henri says. So it makes no difference, a life like this. She smiles with some effort, puts a gray tablet on her tongue, and swallows it. Use or possession of this drug by ordinary people is prohibited by law and strictly controlled. The person taking it feels as if every bone in his or her body is melting. Oh, okay. I think this is supposed to be a good thing. All the anxieties and cares of life vanish as the individual wanders in the space between languor and pleasure. Why don't you take one too? Henri pulls another tablet from her leather pouch and holds it out to Kime, who is standing by her bed. Coward, she says with a grim smile when he shakes his head in silence. And then she places the second tablet on her tongue. How many pills does that make today? Kime asks. I forget. With empty eyes, Henri stares into space and sighs. This is an addiction. A serious one, well, clearly. How do you feel? He asks. Not bad, she says. Very happy. She gives him a smile. It is a deeper and softer smile than her earlier smile, though maybe too deep and too soft. It appears to be a smile of ultimate bliss, but for that very reason, it also has a frightening quality that sends chills up his spine. The drug is called Signpost. This is not a formal designation, of course. People started calling it that as a secret code word to avoid prosecution, and the term caught on. Signpost is, however, the single most appropriate name for this drug. Each pill takes the user one step farther down the road, and when withdrawal symptoms spike, the person rushes to take the next pill, thereby advancing yet another step. Farther and farther and farther. The road marked by this signpost is a soothing one, entirely free of pain or suffering. At the end of the road, however, there waits only death. The use and possession of signpost is so strictly prohibited because it is seen as an invitation to gradual suicide. How many more pills, I wonder? Henri mutters, stretching her emaciated body full length on the bed. It is a question that Kime cannot answer. He knows only that she is nearing the end of her signpost journey. It is for this that Kime has been called to the hospital, which is a facility for people on the verge of death. I have no regrets, Henri says. None at all. This is why I can die pleasantly, quietly, like going to sleep. Her empty eyes are fixed on Kime, but they seem to register nothing. I'll be fine. She reaches into the leather pouch again. You probably shouldn't do that, Kime says. I'm telling you, I'm fine, she says, laughing weakly, and placing a third signpost in her mouth. She closes her eyes. Her sunken eye sockets harbor dark shadows. Kime settles himself into the chair by her bed. He waits for her to say more, but she seems to have fallen asleep. Her breathing is calm, and a slight smile plays upon her sleeping face. The signpost seems to be working. Without the drug, hammer-like pains in her back and violent chills would prevent her from sleeping. Even worse than the physical suffering would be the fear of approaching death. More a girl than a woman, young Henri was struck by a mortal illness. At the end of her long battle with the disease, the doctor gave up all hope of treating it and prescribed signpost for her instead. Ordinary people are not allowed to use the drug, but special permission has been given to patients for whom there is no hope of recovery in order to afford them a peaceful death and bring their lives to a quiet close. In other words, to enable them to die without having to deal with regret or despair. Before Kime began his work, a doctor explained the effects. Before Kime began his work? What do you mean? I don't understand the sentence. Before Kime began this work, a doctor explained the effects. Oh, he's working at the hospital. Why do you guys watch me? Before Kime began this work, a doctor explained the effects of the medicine to him, concluding with a smile. In other words, Signpost forgives all the debts the person has built up toward life. Henri awakens. After she has confirmed Kime's presence at her bedside, she says, "You don't have to worry," and closes her eyes again, smiling. "I'm fine. I think I can go just like this." So she knows there are other possibilities. In certain rare cases, Signpost can have undesirable side effects. Sometimes at the very end, when the person is just beginning to slide into the abyss of death, there can be an attack of nightmares. The patient experiences a literal death agony. Even though Signpost has provided such wonderfully tranquil departures on the person's final journey, every last bit of tranquility can be swept away on the cusp of death. Worse still, some patients conclude their hallucinatory episode with a frenzied physical outburst. They might have barely enough strength to breathe until, tormented by the nightmares, they lash out violently enough to break the bed or even strangle the caregiver in attendance. Such can be the mysteries of the human body, or, more so, the human heart. This is why Kime is here. He is to stand vigil by Henri's deathbed against the remote possibility that she might be tormented by nightmares and go wild under the influence of Signpost side effects. The doctor has supplied him with yet another drug. It is a poison that will kill the patient instantaneously. Kime has been instructed to administer it to Henri as soon as she begins to exhibit strange behavior. "Believe me, this is the humane measure," the doctor said. "Not murder by any means." The face of a patient who has suffered the drug's side effects is truly grotesque, not something anyone could stand to look at. A person's death should never be that excruciating. This is the final kindness to give the person a quiet, peaceful ending. Kime was not entirely convinced by the doctor's rationale. Neither, however, was he able to bring himself to take issue with it. Now he can only hope that, led by her Signpost, Henri will be able to pass her final moments in peace. Some part of her inner self might be paralyzed at the moment, and her empty eyes might never regain their former gleam. But if she is happy that way, it is nothing that anyone has the right to deny her. Waking again, Henri reaches for another Signpost, but drops the leather pouch. "Sorry, but would you pick it up for me?" she asks Kime. She no longer has the strength even to hold the pouch. Her final moments are closing in. Kime lifts the pouch from the floor, but when she asks him to put a tablet in her mouth, he hesitates for a moment before complying. Her tongue is dry and rough as sandpaper. She really must be nearing the end. Having taken another Signpost, Henri seems to be overtaken by that languorous feeling again. She moves the flesh of her cheeks in a way that has no meaning, releases a feeble sigh, and says, "I was just dreaming." "What about?" "About when I was little. Everyone was there. My father, my mother, my big brother and sister, all smiling. This is not a good sign. The drug might be having a bad effect. If the Signpost is working properly, she should not be dreaming, especially about her family. The more lingering attachment or regret or sadness a person retains, the more likely he or she is to experience side effects. This is precisely why the family is never admitted to the patient's room. Final farewells are made before the administering of signpost, and only after everything is finished do they meet again. Everybody was in such a good mood. Time wonders if he should give her another signpost. I'm sure when I was born that my parents would never imagine I would die so young. A more seasoned caregiver would probably give her another pill without hesitation. Then Henri will fall into another peaceful sleep without any thoughts to disturb her, perhaps never to wake again. Time, however, sets the leather pouch on a shelf and waits to hear what else she has to say. Henri herself does not request another signpost but moves the sunken flesh of her cheeks again. This time the movement takes the form of a deliberate smile. You know, she says to Kime, I'm beginning to wonder. About what? Why I was ever born. Kime is at a loss for words, but she does not let this prevent her from continuing. I mean, if I'm going to die so young, when I've never had a chance to fall in love, wouldn't it have been better if I had never been born at all? Kime nods as if to tell her that he understands. Why was I ever born? This is the question Kime asks himself has been pondering all through his endless journey. He has still not found the answer, and maybe never will. My mother and father will be sad, I'm sure. You had better rest now. Maybe I was born to make my parents sad. Close your eyes and take a few long, deep breaths. Can I have some more medicine? This time he gives it to her without hesitation. Thank you, she says simply for the first time and closes her eyes. I guess it's possible I might never wake up again. It's possible. It's a good thing to die without suffering, isn't it? Probably is. And to die with your head in a fog, without thinking or feeling anything, that's a good thing too, isn't it? Kime says nothing. This is a question he cannot answer. A question he doesn't want to answer. Henri falls asleep without asking him anything else. She is still sound asleep when the doctor examines her and tells Kime she will probably pass away before the night is out. It is late that night, close to dawn, when Henri begins to suffer. I'm sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry I ate the jam. It was me. She is running a high fever with large drops of sweat on her forehead as she moans deliriously. What's taking you so long, Daddy? Hurry, hurry, the butterfly's going to fly away. Kime wonders if she could be reliving memories of early childhood. You hit me. Big brothers shouldn't hit their little sisters. You're bad. I'm going to tell Mommy. Convulsions rack her entire body. Let me in. I want to play with the big girls. Doesn't end with her delirium. She starts moving her arms as if trying to embrace family members floating above her. This is what they were afraid of. The side effects. Take me with you, please. I don't want to stay here. Don't leave me. Her cries mingle with tears. Hallucinations seem to have taken the place of past memories in her empty eyes. Please, I'll be good. I'll do what you tell me, Mommy and Daddy. Take me with you. In fact, just the opposite is happening. The ones being left behind are the family who so loved their youngest daughter, Henri. Don't leave me alone. Mommy, Daddy, come back, please. He can feel her pain and sorrow. Her convulsions become increasingly violent. Her face contorts in agony. Alerted by the commotion, a doctor comes charging into the room. What are you doing? He shouts at Kime. Put her out of her misery now. Kime knows what he should do. This is what he was hired for. The poison that will prevent Henri from suffering any more is within easy reach. What he takes hold of softly, however, is not the poison, but the hands that Henri stretches out to an empty space. What are you doing? The doctor shouts at him. Stop it! This is a direct violation of your duties. You're fired. Yeah, like he cares. Kime turns towards the fuming doctor and says simply, Be quiet, please. What in the hell are you? But the doctor breaks off his shouting when he catches sight at the look on Henri's face. She is smiling. Are these my mother's hands? My father's? Big brothers, big sisters? Tell me, whose hands are these? She asks joyfully. Feeling the strength of Kime's grasp, she squeezes back, an almost indescribably happy smile on her face, tears streaming from her eyes. I'm here with all of you. Together. Always. Her convulsions have subsided and her breathing has calmed down. Kime whispers in her ear, Thank you, Henri. Daddy? Smiling through her tears, she says, I know it's you. Kime smiles back at her and says, I'm speaking for all of us. For me, your mother, your brother, your sister, when I say, Thank you, Henri. Henri seems almost embarrassed when she asks, For what? For having been born, Henri. For having come to be with us. For having allowed us to share time with you. Mommy and I and brother and sister were all so grateful to you for that. Unfortunately, life has its limits. There are long lives and short lives. And in life, even more unfortunately, there's happiness and unhappiness. There are happy lives and unhappy lives. For all of this, however, for the chance to be alive in the world, for the chance of having lived life in this world, the only thing to say is thank you. When Kime says this to her, Henri gives her slender chin a little shake and says, No, I should be the one thanking you. All of you. Those are Henri's last words. The look on her face in death following the torment of the drug-induced nightmares is neither tranquil nor peaceful. It is, however, happy. Are you really leaving us? The doctor asks Kime with a genuine show of regret. Dressed for the road, Kime smiles and says, Don't think I'll ever be able to perform the duties of a caregiver properly. To tell you the truth, Kime, I still can't get over the fact that it's even possible to do it your way. With a serious look, he adds, I wonder if your hands can give off some substance like signpost. Otherwise, I can't imagine how she could have died so happily. Kime turns his palms towards the doctor's. They're just ordinary hands, nothing special. Not so sure about that, the doctor says. If we spent some time studying them properly, maybe. Kime shakes his head with a sour smile as if to say, You wouldn't find a thing. He does have one point to make with the doctor. I've seen lots of people die alone. Probably a lot more than any you doctors have. That's why I wanted to bring her together with her family at the end. That's the only reason I took her hands. The doctor's vague nod suggests that he is not convinced, but Kime is through talking with him. He strides off toward the highway. He must continue his journey. His journey will go on as long as he is unable to reply to Henri's question. Why was I ever born? Henri had a family at least. Her life consisted of her joining and leaving her family. Time has not even had that much. Where did I come from? Where am I going? Why does the passing wind draw Kime along on his endless journey? A journey without signposts. This is why Kime is always free and always alone. I don't know how I feel about that one. Kind of a forced drug name to do the signpost thing at the end. Like, we call the drug signpost because it'll make sense at the end. Don't worry about it. Oh, God, my throat's killing me. All right. Well, good news. We don't have a ton more to do today because I think I know where we want to stop for the day. We've got a couple of things left to do, though. They'll actually probably take a while. I don't know how much running around it's actually going to be because we're going to drop off a couple more magic gauges, unlock a couple of seals yet. So we need to go to the Black Cave. I think we want to go in through the north. This is the Great Hall of Foul Creatures, then we're good. Not, then we may want to try the south. Yeah, okay, so let me get this map back up. Oh, this might not be that bad. Considering the enemies from the other area didn't get stronger, I'm guessing they didn't here either, though. Say, isn't this one of the magic spots the technician in Aura mentioned? Let's set up the magic gauge. We'll hear while we're at it. Magic gauge installed. Alright, we gotta run further back in to do another royal seal, too. Hey, even Sarah can do a little damage here.
I did it! A perfect battle!
Those were 12 SP, holy crap. Alright, Kime and Sarah learned a bunch of stuff. I think one's an equip for both of them. Yeah. We'll put waterproof on. We'll get black belt going too. Let's put waterproof. We won't bother with double item right now. Do that. We're just learning crap for them at this point. Ooh, do we want to put weapon guard on her? What do we think? And she's got absorb attack. It's the absorbs that are doing so much for us, not the weapon guard, right? You know what? We will get potion booster going. That might actually be useful for her. And then we need to change this. Do resourceful as well. Okay. I remember seeing this one the first time we passed. What do you got for us this time, huh? Master Sword and Master Ring. Oh yeah, he's not here. God, Tolton is so friggin' strong. Look at that. Level 3 almost certainly causes Toxin, almost certainly causes Petrify, almost certainly causes Paralysis. Well, you know what? Let's put it on Kime. I don't know how much that damage boost is doing for us anyway. I think that's all we had to do here, right? Yeah, we just head back out now. Shit. Morphing. We learned everything. Jeez. Okay. Sarah literally learned everything she had on him. Alright, let's start with Seth. Don't need to equip that on her. She can learn Crisis Prayer. We need a new skill link. Yeah. You know what? Let's just start learning this expensive crap, I guess. We'll get Ultimate Analysis first, actually. Alright, then what did you do? You got Counter Up. Let's put Counter Up on for now. Change our skill link. Yeah, I want to make sure that no matter who our or what our combination is, that we always have the double SP. There you go. Wisdom earrings for you now. Potion booster, magic defense boost. I'm not actually going to put either of those on yet. I want to get Sarah learning all the damn antes now too. And then she needs... we'll kind of mix it up. We'll let her do double gold. Okay. See if I can do this without falling down a hole again. Alright, Seth learned everything again. Get Counter Up going for her. We'll get Anti-Darkness going. And we'll continue to hope I don't screw this up again. Okay. Run back didn't take that long. We got quite a few skills knocked out while we were doing that, so at least that's useful. least this backtracking has some kind of merit to it. And it looks like we now return to the Ice Canyon. We're going to put another magic gauge down first. Hey, this is one of those magic spots the guy in our road told us about to investigate for research. Better set up magic meter here. Well, that was nice and quick. That would explain why it's having us just walk back out and use the other main map entry. I don't remember a royal seal over here. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Maybe I do. Was it? It was like up a hill, right? Like right around where we fought the boss. Is this accurate? Like it's right, it's up here? Or wait, or was this where we had to fight the little monkey thief? No, I'm right. I'm good. Quad element charm. Reduces fire, wind, water, and earth elemental damage. All right. Oh, for Tolton only. It says it at the bottom. Wait, am I not crazy then? Did we have one? Another one that said that? For immortals only. Ah, yeah, for Tolton only. Huh. Okay, then let's check something real quick. Where is... Because Kaim learned it, right? Special... It's not... Huh. Still not there. Okay, so I guess that does not qualify as a special accessory. Well, what the hell does then, huh? Alright. That's it here. Going to the terrace cave. Where the hell is Terrace Cave? Have we been there? Does not ring a bell. Granted, I forgot this was here until I immediately remembered that this was here, so maybe whatever's ringing bells to me shouldn't be spoken of. Terrace Cave. There we go. Oh, is this the place we entered underwater and then immediately left? Is that what it was? I know we did that somewhere last week while we were sailing around and I was trying not to urinate in my pants. Okay. Right. We got some items to collect. I have no idea what the enemies are going to be like here. I mean, we've never really done anything here, so hopefully they're kind of a more equivalent level to us. I know we're getting SP. I wouldn't mind. Even if we're not gaining a level every fight, I wouldn't mind. You know, maybe 1 or 2 levels while we're down here. Maybe there aren't any enemies down here, though. I don't know. The encounter rates in this game feel like they're all over the damn map. There we go.
Ooh.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
I find this thing alarming. You know what we do to alarming things. Should we gamble? Should we gamble? I'll let Sarah gamble. I'll have Jansen use Corsia. Have we made a mistake? Wonder if that's just like a metal slime.
From a baby.
Those that don't know that reference, it's an enemy, very high defense, very inclined to run. But if you do manage to kill it, you get a kind of crap ton of XP. Down this way? Okay. Master Thief Tools. So glad we came all this way from that. I really hope there's something else down here that's worth it. Oh, God. That would be so sad. Alright, let's see what we got here. Okay, so normal enemies again. A lot of them, though. Jeez. Nothing crazy HP. Their type is hardened. What was their element? Fire? A couple of different elements. Alright, well, we'll stick to the normal plan. See how this goes before we try something not too usual. Well, they got some defense. That is presumably what the hardened means. They aren't doing much damage-wise, though. Oh god, that's gonna be annoying if they just heal through everything, though. Let's... Hopefully magic really wrecks. That's pretty strong. Jamming. That's not good. It didn't say miss the first time. But it doesn't feel like... Oh, damn, Jansen. But it didn't feel like anything happened. Let's do this. Think. You know what? Hers didn't kill, so let's throw a gamble out and see what the gamble will get us this time. Oh, we got the kill there. Alright, that kind of worked out in our favor. That was not how I had set it up, but damn! Gamble makes no sense! What does that do? We have that move, don't we? We should look at it. I feel like nothing is happening to us. Okay, was it a crit that he did last time? Is that why that actually did anything? Oh, screw it. We'll just... Wait, where's the jamming thing? Slows down magic casting time of one enemy. Well, apparently it didn't slow it down enough for it to really matter yet. Wait, we don't want... No, we want the gamble on the other one. Said can finish that. And we'll just do 2 gambles. I think this will get us a win. Oh no, that lived. Alright, well, since it's gonna heal, probably a good thing we did the 2 gambles. Watch us roll, like, really low. Is what it is. That one was better. It really is just that random. What a strange move. So bizarre to have a move. It's like, what? How much is it gonna do? What kind of damage is it gonna do? No idea. Roll the dice. Let us know. Let's see if we get any experience. Oh yeah, that actually equated to a level. All right. So this place won't suck even if the items are not necessarily the best. Seth, Kai, and Sarah all learn stuff. Okay. You know, yeah, we'll put counter up. Does she have slots left? Yeah, she's still got 2. We'll put it on for now. Again, just something we can take off later if it's just not the right fit for the time being. Do double loot. That's it for you. Okay, let's make sure we put this on. Slot +5. Running out of things for you to learn, too. Alright, Sarah. Yeah, we'll just keep going with all the immunities. God, we didn't teach her any of them? Really? I guess we kept getting distracted by, like, MP restore stuff, didn't we? That's good enough there. Alright, well, yeah, so... At least now, if every one of these items is kind of eh. We got a level out of it. I'm willing to bet we'd get at least 1 more if we can run into a fight or 2. And that fight wasn't that bad. Some high... God, really? Some high defenses, but they weren't really hurting us. I don't know if they just have low attack because they have high defense, or if we're maybe just a little over leveled for this area. I feel like we've been doing real well on fighting enough to keep us up to date. Looks like we're just making a big circle around this place and then cutting right. You know, I feel like if it's going to be a treasure chest, they should be more important items. Maybe if I started making rings, they would be more important. But so far, we have still not needed to do that. Or at least I have not felt the need to do that. So, maybe I'm playing the game wrong, but you know what? We're succeeding. We've only had a couple of fights that have kind of genuinely been hard. And I still maintain that one was cheating. We just kept getting hit by the worst moves possible. The one before we met Cook and Mac. The dudes on the horses that just kept wrecking our days. You know, there's so many enemies here that might be worth doing a big area attack. You only have Prism that could do that, right? Yeah, that's fine. You have Composite, though. Let's do Winda. Oh, that's going to push them both to next turn? Oh, yeah, we knew that, because that's why... I was just talking about the fight we used Prism a bunch in, and I forgot that it pushed Jansen to 2 turns. I'm not a smart man. I think our biggest problem here with the composite magic is that we have some that are fire and some that are earth. And fire is going to be weak to the wind, but earth, I think, is going to be strong to it. So we get, like, double annoyance. We're going to have Kaim fight through the poison for now, just to get the GC of their team down as far as possible before our magics go off. We'll see about healing him next turn. That works. Might not even need to worry about healing, at least not in battle. And Prism's not near as strong. Alright, we won't bother with that on Jansen again then. I think for Sarah it was definitely worth it though. All of them are a little messed up. We'll do that. We'll do that. I don't even think we need to go to Forcia. We'll just use Force there. We'll do that. And we'll do one more Force on you. I think this will... No, not with that. Damn it. I needed the perfect. Shit. Maybe we'll get lucky with the 2 forces coming out. Maybe? Nope. Alright, it's fine. All it means is kind of takes poison damage one more turn. We got plenty of healing. And we're only a little bit more here to go.
Not in my nature to lose.
Alright, Seth learned everything. Kaim learned a little bit. Let's change some equipment. Not gonna put that on right now. Not gonna put that on right now. We'll put Evade up. That's something we could actually put on one of our empty spots for now, at least. Seth does not have much more to learn for the time being, though. Did not do as much experience for us as I would have liked. One more fight in Kaim and Sarah could get another level at least. Yeah, we need to go down one more. Two chests here. Apparently I can't open it from the side. I don't know why I thought I could. Well, it's the friends we made along the way that matter, right? Oh, okay. We got a new music score. I know it's not the most interesting mini game in the world, but we are getting good stuff when we do those. I think going to turn that in is kind of the last thing we'll do for today. Because after that, I'll look over real quick while we're... Oh, we have a new enemy here. Okay, a gray fossil, hardened as well. Everybody's front line. Let's do this. We'll have all the physicals on the... No, you know what, actually? The fish is not that annoying. We'll get all the physicals on the grass. And then we'll gamble on the other two, and we'll just see how it goes, right? The harden doesn't seem to have any effect on magic, so... Can we at least kill this? We couldn't even kill that. Great. Oh, well, at least we got a minute. Oh, counter. Okay. We can get a slightly worse gamble now. Maybe that's our counter rate up going, showing us some... We finally got a really bad gamble roll. That made up for it a little bit. You need 199. I think we stick with the gamble. I don't know what else to do, because... Oh, well, I guess if I attacked one, I could have just done, like, a weakness. We wouldn't have had to worry about... soft hitting anything. Didn't really matter. We got it. That should give Seth and Sarah and Kym? Yeah. That gives Sarah and Kym a level. We learned a bunch more shit. Alright, so that was evade up for Seth, so let's just get that on real quick. That fills Seth's slots up too. How many slot seeds do we have left? They are organized more than I thought they were. Just because I'm thinking about it. We have 6 more. God, I feel like I'm just being so rude to Ming. We won't use them just yet. What was I doing? Yes, the other two. We need to equip, not skill right now. Okay, more... antes for Sarah. Because we have no idea when we're going to need these, but we probably will. Kym doesn't actually need either of these. Seth. We put evade up on already. Okay. And everybody's still trying to learn Sed's big ass stuff, so we're good there. This is our last item here. Yeah, so we came here for a level and a music cube, it feels like. Alright, let's go see what's in this last one, and go do this music box, I mean. Is that Aura? Yeah, we gotta go to Aura. It's gonna make for a little shorter today, but we are done with our side questing for the time being. We are going to get back into some storyline for a little bit. And I think it will just be better to start that next week. We've got a lot of cooler temperatures coming, so there shouldn't be any reason there's not an episode next week. And you guys had to listen to me read 5 stories today, so maybe less is more this week, you know? But we will see what's in this real quick. All right. By wind amulet. Is that going to be our wind absorb? Yep, nullifies. Well, nullifies. Is it water nullify or is it absorb? Am I just saying? Yeah, nullify. I mean, hell. Nullify is damn near as good as absorb. Yeah, that's going to be it for us today, though. Our next stuff is going to be storyline. I'm interested to see how much back and forth we'll have for the rest of the game between storyline and side questing, but I thought there was a save point right here. Let me make sure I find a save point. Where's the nearest save point? We'll just leave and go to a different town. If we go to one of the smaller ones, I know there's a save point right away. I'm sorry, I interrupted myself multiple times. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how much there's back and forthing between kind of storyline and side quest chunks now. I'd like to keep going, but between shit in the air, doing my throat in, and 5 stories today, I'm just beat. We're making our progress, though. We are chugging right along. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you next week. If you liked that video, go ahead and subscribe. If you didn't, please email me and tell me why.